Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a really close look at something you've probably been praised for your entire life. I want you to lean in and focus for a second because we're unpacking a hidden danger, one that's literally lurking inside one of humanity's most celebrated qualities. We are exploring the dark side of empathy. You know, growing up, you were told that empathy is a gift, right? You were told that feeling deeply, caring intensely, and understanding others so completely that their pain basically becomes your pain, well, that these are qualities to be celebrated. But here is the chilling reality that no one warned you about. Those exact same qualities, they actually make you the perfect target. It's a tough pill to swallow, but the most empathetic people in any room are tragically the ones most likely to be manipulated, exploited, and ultimately destroyed by people who feel absolutely nothing at all. Part 1, the target on your back. Okay, let's dive into this and look at the biological reality of why you can't simply just turn your feelings off. So, it's not a weakness in your character. It actually all comes down to mirror neurons in your brain. When a highly empathetic person witnesses someone in pain, your brain doesn't just, register that pain intellectually, it literally mirrors it. This neural system activates in response to another person's emotional state, exactly as if that state were your own. You don't just understand their pain, you feel it, physically, sensation for sensation, right inside your own nervous system. For most people, this system activates moderately, but for you, the highly empathetic person, it activates with an intensity that can be genuinely overwhelming. Someone else's bad day literally becomes your bad day. Their crisis becomes your emergency. Part 2, anatomy of the predator. So, exactly why are you targeted? Well, this brings us to the most dangerous and perhaps least known connection we'll cover today. And this brilliantly illustrates the terrifying synergy at play here. On one side, we have what the narcissist or manipulator desperately needs: unconditional understanding, endless patience, and frankly, someone willing to absorb the blame. On the other side, we have what the empath naturally gives. Emotionally unavailable people are drawn to empaths the exact same way a drought is drawn to water. You see, you possess this inability to walk away from someone who is suffering, even when you don't realize that suffering is entirely manufactured. The manipulator doesn't actually need to change their behavior, they just need to keep suffering convincingly. And the empath, who just cannot tolerate seeing pain unaddressed, will stay. You'll try harder. You'll give more. Until your reservoir is completely dry. Part 3, the empathy trap. How do they actually execute this and keep you locked in? Well, by weaponizing your own biology against you. So the crucial point is the operation of this trap is predictably step by step. And honestly, this might feel like a painful recognition of your own past. Step 1, someone causes you harm and you finally gather the courage to express it. Step 2, in response, they immediately reveal their own pain, their childhood, their trauma, their struggles. Step 3, your mirror neurons, your empathy activates involuntarily and completely. And step 4, just like that, your original harm is erased. Suddenly, you're no longer the person who is hurt. You've been transformed into the person trying to heal them. Your pain is just set aside so theirs can take center stage, and the issue you brought up disappears entirely. Listen, this is no accident. Skilled manipulators know that flashing vulnerability is the single fastest way to neutralize your boundaries.
Part 4, the collapse of self. So what happens when you live like this? What happens when your nervous system carries the emotional weight of everyone around you indefinitely without ever putting it down?
Basically, you hit a clinical limit. The grim reality of compassion fatigue looks a lot like depression. It manifests as a really deep emotional numbness. We're talking about an exhaustion that 10 hours of sleep simply cannot fix. Eventually, you develop a growing inability to feel anything at all, even for the people you genuinely love. You have to realize, your nervous system was never designed to be an infinite sponge for the world's darkness. When it reaches its absolute limit, it doesn't just ask for a break. It shuts down. It stops feeling altogether, and not as a conscious choice you make, but as a total unavoidable biological collapse. We really have to separate the virtue from the wound here. True empathy is connecting to others without dissolving yourself. Self-abandonment, on the other hand, is disappearing entirely just to fully feel what someone else is feeling. If your empathy consistently leads you to abandon your own needs, minimize your own pain, and prioritize everyone else's experience over your own, I really need you to hear this. That is not empathy. That is a trauma response that has learned to wear the mask of kindness. Part 5, empathy with boundaries. But this explainer isn't just about exposing the dark. It is about protecting yourself and finding the way out. Let's move to and see how this builds on what we've learned, because understanding the psychological mechanics of empathy exploitation allows us to rebuild properly. It is time to shift from endless giving to weaponizing your own boundaries, because the goal here is not to become less empathetic. The goal is to become empathetic with boundaries. That means learning to feel someone else's pain without taking on the responsibility for resolving it. It means understanding their suffering without allowing that suffering to become your personal obligation. You absolutely must recognize the difference between someone who genuinely needs your compassion and someone who is actively using your compassion against you. Empathy without discernment is not a virtue. It is a vulnerability. It's basically an open door to a house with no locks. The single most empathetic thing you can ever do for yourself, starting right now, is to treat your own pain with the exact same urgency you have always given to everyone else's. Look, your empathy is not the problem. The problem is a world that taught you to give it away without limits to everyone who asked, regardless of whether they actually deserved it. You are allowed to feel deeply and still have boundaries. You are allowed to care and still say no. You are allowed to be the most empathetic person in the room and still protect yourself first. If you want to keep uncovering the forbidden psychology and dark truths they never taught you in school, subscribe to Dark Archive. Every week we open a new file. The archive is open, but the question remains, now that you know you are a target, who in your life are you going to stop giving your empathy to today?